Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host Patrick Marlatt, and today we're talking about the Seiko SKX. The Seiko 7S26 series diver's watch, or SKX line as it's more commonly referred to, has been around since 1996. Though the original design branches back to the late 70s with the 6309, 7290 and its kin, this 7S26 version of the watch is how many of us commonly think of the bulletproof diver. It's iconic, with its legendary performance and undeniably timeless appeal. Here are 3 reasons why you shouldn't buy it. This is part 1 of a 2-part series on Seiko's most beloved diver, the SKX. I own this modified one here and have owned multiples throughout the years. This video is meant to help those interested in buying their next dive watch from a consumer who not only collects Seiko, both vintage and modern, but has owned and experienced nearly every diver in their range, from the original 6217 62 Moss to their current line of Marine Masters. Let's start by talking about some of the SKX's faults. From the Jubilee bracelet, which folks convince themselves they love, to the rubber strap. The accessories for the SKX are garbage. Seiko knows it, and that's why these can be picked up for $230 or less on the Jubilee, or $200 or less on the rubber strap option. I have this on a bead of rice bracelet from Watch Gecko, not a sponsor, but an excellent alternative bracelet to the stock one found with the SKX. Though this is an ISO 6425 certified diver's watch, that doesn't mean it's constructed well. From rampant misalignment issues to horribly regulated movements, every SKX is guaranteed to be uniquely flawed in some way or other. Now, that isn't to say you won't find an SKX with a 7S26 that's regulated within its expected accuracy or without any misalignment issues, but it's rare. Now, do-it-yourselfers, and I can already hear you in the comments section down below, will forgive these problems as they set out to fix these quality control issues themselves. But for the average consumer, I don't want to be fixing any company's quality control errors at any price, even at the $200 asking price of the SKX. Above any other brand, and it's sad to say, Seiko fails to meet the quality control expectations of their consumers, and the SKX is just a sad victim. However, this leads me to my next point. Instead of buying a Seiko SKX007 or 009 like the modified one you see here, why not consider a vintage 6309, 7548, or better yet, 7C43 series diver? Now, this will require more research on your part than simply typing in Seiko diver into your Amazon browser, but will be well worth it. I collect a lot of vintage Seiko and can happily attest that everything from the late 60s to the mid 80s was made with a lot more consideration. Let's take the 7C43 7010 for example, as its aesthetic is nearly identical to the modern SKX007. In it, you have a far more accurate quartz movement with the 7C43 that features a day-date complication, a 3+ year battery life, and the best construction of any SKX-like diver. I'm going to leave you a link down below to a post from GKen Watch blog where they break down the 7C43 7010 and discuss that watch in depth. Now, while I don't currently own a 7C43 7010, I do own a 6A00, which is a mid-scale diver from that same period, and can attest that the 7C43 is one of the most sound quartz movements I've ever owned. It's actually built similarly to the 7C46 found in all modern Seiko tunas. However, maybe you don't want a vintage watch, or perhaps just not a quartz one. I get it. In regards to the 7C43 7010, they run for about $400, which is twice the price of a new SKX007, 009, or any of its ilk. Now, while I wouldn't advise spending more on a 7C43 7010, which I find to be a far superior version of this watch, maybe you want to stick with modern and mechanical. Well, for that, Seiko has a whole host of options in their catalog that are far superior to this watch. Which leads me to my final point. Though QC issues are rampant with modern Seiko watches, you can find a great deal of mechanical-based diver's watches that are a better choice than the SKX. Case in point, the Seiko Turtle. The nearest cousin to the modern Seiko SKX is, of course, the Seiko Turtle. Now, as a point of comparison, why don't we just talk about this Seiko first? In my hands, I'm holding a modified Seiko SRP007 Turtle, and just under $300, you can find these SRP Turtles with a similarly sized case on a far superior rubber strap. Might I add, one of the better rubber straps that Seiko provides. It also comes with a bracelet option, again, still under $300, and a movement that features hacking and hand winding. You must really love or just want to have the Seiko SKX aesthetic if that doesn't sound appealing to you, but perhaps the Seiko Turtle isn't your speed. You have the Seiko SRPB Samurai series, which I've done a review on here on the channel. That's an excellent alternative to the SKX with a variety of different color and accessory options. You also have the SRPC Mini Turtle, dumb name, Mini Turtle series that is also a great alternative to the SKX, all hovering under that $300 mark and with that enhanced forearm movement. So why at all buy a Seiko SKX? Stick around for part 2 where we discuss the merits of the Seiko SKX in a market that's ripe with arguably better options. And bear in mind, we only discussed watches from Seiko's own line. However, if you found this video enlightening or in the least entertaining, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a whole heck of a lot like this guy. If you have friends, forums, or groups that were interested in the Seiko SKX, and of course they are, feel free to share this video with them so they can get another consumer's opinion on the watch before making the purchase. If it's their first dive watch, if it's their next dive watch, feel free to share this with them so they know that there are options out there. Now, if you own a Seiko SKX, feel free to share your opinions down below, or maybe you never want to pick one up. I'd love to hear why. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, welcome. I do videos like this 2 or more times a week. So whether you are a budding watch enthusiast just breaking into the hobby or a long-time collector, feel free to slam that subscribe button. And if you want to see my content precisely when it airs, you can hit the bell icon just next to that. Again, my name is Patrick Marlatt, and thank you for the time.